Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Adrian Panda, business and immigration attorney, and today I've got a big update about BOI reports. So on March 2nd, the government issued a renewed update about beneficial ownership information reporting for companies. As you all know, the reports as of right now are due on March 21st, 2025, right? So March 21st of this year. And what FinCen did in their latest announcement, they confirmed that the rules will no longer be enforced against U.S. citizens or domestic reporting companies. These are companies that are registered in the United States in one of the 50 states or territories. So, what does this mean for you? Well, basically, if you are a U.S. citizen or it's a U.S. domestic reporting company that you are worried about filing a BOI report for, based on this latest announcement, even if you don't file any updates, if you don't actually file your initial BOI report, FinCen will not be taking enforcement actions against you. What does that mean? Basically, they will not be fining you. Now, the issue that many have pointed out is that, okay, but there's no guarantees because there's no new rule. So what FinCen did on March 2nd, they actually issued in their statement, they confirmed that they will be issuing a new interim final rule, which will clarify exactly who needs to report and by when they need to report. So it's anticipated that there will be an extension on this March 21st deadline. FinCen also hinted that the new rule will be limited in scope, and that scope will be limited only to foreign reporting companies. Now, foreign reporting companies are those that are registered in a foreign jurisdiction. So think of a company registered abroad in another country that then files with any of the US states or territories to conduct business inside the United States. So just to give you an illustrative example, think of a company registered in the Isle of Man that then files to register to conduct business in the United States and basically registers with the United States, but is actually formed outside the United States. So what FinCen indicated is that the new rule will mainly or predominantly or maybe only apply to these foreign companies. And why did FinCen do this? They reiterated that they want to make a commitment, the government wants to make a commitment to not burdening U.S. business owners and U.S. small businesses, and they actually want to limit this rule targeting those where they're most concerned about national security or money laundering or any sort of criminal activities, right? So we still need to wait until we receive information about this final rule. As I said, FinCen confirmed it will be coming out before March 21st of this year. So I will be recording future videos giving you updates about these. But for now, what you need to know is that if it's a U.S. domestic, reporting company, U.S. citizen, you will not be fined or should not be fined by FinCen for not filing any BOI reports. Now, a couple of things I want to mention. The one question I get from everyone is, okay, but the rule hasn't disappeared, Adrian. Should I still file? The rule is technically still out there. To be honest, again, personal decision. It's up to you. There's nothing, if you want to stop following these videos and just don't want to keep updated about BOI reports anymore, there's no issues with just filing your initial BOI report and being done with it. If you've waited this long, don't want to do it, and the question is, hey, should I still file a BOI report given what FinCen just issued? Well, if there's not going to be any penalties against you if you fall into those categories of U.S. citizen, U.S. domestic reporting company, well then, what is the advantage of filing? If you don't want to file and it's not going to be enforced against you, well, I ask you, what is the advantage of actually filing this report, right? If you waited this long and kept up to date with everything. So there are three big things I want to point out about this rule and everything that's going on. Number one, if you're a foreign reporting company, right, based on everything that was issued, you likely still have to file your initial or obviously updated beneficial ownership information reports by March 21st. So keep track of this, be aware of this, and keep up to date so that you don't miss the deadline and don't accrue any penalties because of the latest announcements. Foreign reporting companies are still subject to this rule. the enforcement actions, penalties, etc., are not going to get waived. So that's the first. The second thing is FinCen confirmed that they will be opening this new rule, the new interim rule, to public comments. So they'll be soliciting public comments. So my one advice is, if you're tired of this, right, and you want this to end, because all of us, anyone watching this, and myself included, right, have spent months, you could even say over a year, right, ever since they started making us file these BOI reports, keeping up with these rules and knowing what to do and all the exceptions and when to file, by which deadline, which company has to file what and when. If you're tired of this, reach out to your congressman, right, and make them aware, right, of what a burden this is. And also, when the rule comes out for public comment, well, make sure you comment, right? That's the whole idea of having a democratic rule-making process, that we're able to actually give our opinion, and you should do it, because the fact that FinCen is issuing these updates and clearly doesn't want to burden all small business owners with this, or startup owners, or individuals who are not engaging in any cross-border activities, they understand and they want to hear from you. So long story short, I think feel free to comment when the new rule comes out, so that the government can take your position into account, and don't think you're too small, right? Many of us small ones make the big happen, so your voice counts. And then finally, the question that everyone's asking me is, okay, but I'm a, say, U.S. citizen, I have a domestic reporting company, but this new announcement doesn't say, hey, the March 21st deadline is gone. It just says we will no longer enforce the rule against you. So what should I do? Should I file or should I not file? But even though I know that I'll be violating this rule if I don't file, first of all, like I said last time, to answer this question, this is a personal take. I know many people who have filed BOI reports even though they fundamentally disagree with them, simply because they no longer want to keep track. They no longer want to watch these videos. They no longer want to know. They just want it over with. They have, to put it bluntly, like all of us, right, nothing to hide. So they're like, here's the information. I own this company. Not a big deal, right? So I think that's a perfectly fine decision. Now, for those of you who have waited this long and have not filed, right, because you disagree with it, or you just don't want to give that kind of information to the government in addition to your tax returns, etc., I would say wait closer to March 21st until we get the new interim rule, right? Because if a new rule gets issued and it specifically says, hey, U.S. domestic reporting companies, you don't have to file, right? Well, then you will have that peace of mind that you didn't have to file. The one thing you should keep in mind, right, that regardless of what that rule says, as of right now, by the government saying they will not enforce it against any domestic reporting companies, well, that means that irrespective of what the new rule says, you should not be receiving any fines, penalties, etc., which is the main driver for most people to actually comply with this rule, because they don't want to accrue any additional fees or get into any trouble. But the bottom line is, altogether, the decision is entirely yours. I will continue to update you. I'm really hoping that with this new interim rule that's coming out, this saga will end and there'll be reasonable scope explaining who needs to file, very reasonable deadlines that will not end up in a bunch of lawsuits that delay everything and extend it. Hopefully we can get a workable, reasonable framework that actually achieves that which this rule is aiming to do. I will keep you updated about this. Thank you so much for watching the channel and the video. If you like it, please subscribe, like, and yes, thanks again. Bye.